Alright, cut the intro. No, cut the intro. I'm just gonna lay it out, keep it simple. No extraneous graphics or any of that stuff. I'm just gonna lay it out. Okay, you know what? I wasn't normally gonna touch on this. Wasn't really worth the effort. Some kind it's past anyways, so it's a kind of out of date. But I figure I'd throw my two Canadian pennies in and talk about some guy that I have a bone with. Not really have a bone with. I'd be giving him too much credit, but I do take exception to something that I've seen featuring this person. You might know him. His name's Joe Vargas, also known as Angry Joe. Now here's a guy whose quote-unquote popularity is a complete and utter mystery to me, because he doesn't look like anybody interesting. Just some doofus with a green screen and a Superman shirt. But to be fair, I checked out a couple of his videos and got nothing out of it. Sounds annoying, not remotely funny. His green screen effects are distracting at best, and for a guy who calls himself Angry Joe, doesn't seem all that angry. So, yeah, not exactly someone I'm going to be tuning into at any point in the near future. But the only reason I'm bringing him up, and quite possibly the only notable thing about him, it seems lately, is because of his embarrassing, horrifically painful to watch, god fucking awful interview with Jeff Keighley on the carpet of the 2010 Spike Video Game Awards shows. Now, I saw the interview in question, and I could sort of agree that while Keighley did show a lack of interest in putting up with Joe's antics, I can't say that I really blame this guy, because I don't. People might not be aware of it, but Jeff Keighley is the executive producer of the Spike Video Game Awards, an award show that goes on TV. TV! And he has a lot of shit on his plate to ensure that his baby goes off without a hitch. So the fact that he's giving this relatively obscure amateur whose fame comes from the internet 5 minutes of his precious time moments before this big show goes on TV is pretty fucking generous, I think. You know what? Like I said, I can't really blame the guy. I mean, people like say like, "Oh, Jeff's a douchebag. He didn't give Joe the respect he deserved." You know what? Jeff could have paid attention to Joe a little more. You know what? I gotta agree. There's fault on both sides, but mostly on Joe. Jeff only had what he had to work with, and what he had to work with was a guy who wanted to play journalist and was doing a piss poor job of it. I You know what the big sign of how an interview is going bad? When the guy you're interviewing is pointing out the flaws in your interviewing skills. When that happens, things are not going to fucking go well. And this interview is going to hell. That's exactly what happened. But you know what? There were a couple other signs before that little bit that some of your fan base may have neglected to bring up. How dare Jeff Keighley treat Angry Joe badly? Angry Joe is fucking God compared to Jeff Keighley. No, he's not. Jeff Keighley's the executive producer of a show that appeared on TV, while Angry Joe is just some schmuck off the internet who came in completely unprepared and was basically fumbling through the questions he had, showing no integrity, no composure, and coming off as a joke. And this is during a quick impromptu interview that Joe claims lasted 2 minutes, but seemed more like 4 or 5. And in that short instance, the game who claims to represent gamers and be a hero to the people dropped the fucking ball. How do you start an interview? You introduce the person you're going to interview. So today, I'm here with Jeff Keighley, executive producer of the Spike Video Game Awards. Blah blah, exchange pleasantries, blah blah, compliment the bow tie, blah blah. First question. Now, basic stuff. Keep your cool, be professional, be calm, cool, collected. Keep it simple, stupid. Most importantly, you got 5 minutes, just keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate things. Simple shit, man. Really. So what does Joe do? I'm here with Jeff, and I got a bone to pick this guy. He calls that being diplomatic. I call that being unprofessional, and a sign that this interview is not going to go well. Yeah, lack of preparedness as well. I've been in situations where I was caught unprepared in certain situations. I know the feeling. That's what I get from Joe. And there was also the other sign that I knew this interview was going to go well, and that's also in the beginning. Shortly right after he's got a bone to pick with Jeff, Joe's in the middle of a sentence, something along the I hope you know what you're doing, blah 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 blah, as Jeff is looking in the distance, presumably to check for celebrity, since that might be part of the job description. Because remember, executive producer, VGAs, the show's about to start. About to start on TV? Don't forget TV? Huh? Okay, I'll stop with that. But seriously, that's his fucking job. So when Joe notices that Jeff is looking in the distance, seemingly not paying attention, but apparently unaware that he could still be listening to Joe, because he's a multitasker or something like some shit like that, the guy sort of just trails off, lost in thought. It almost seemed like Angry Joe was about to burst into tears. In fact, this happened a couple times. You know, another thing, what the funny part is? The funny part of the whole thing is when during the video there's a little counter in the bottom of the screen that counting down to the moment where it would indicate that Joe would lose his cool. Yeah, sorry. Joe lost his cool the minute he opened his mouth. You know, cries about the Jeff treating him like some random guy off YouTube. Okay, I guess it's easy to make that mistake, get that wrong. Okay, I suppose. All right, fine. You're not some random guy off YouTube. You're some random guy off Blip TV. You know what? Same shit, asshole. As a matter of fact, I think some random guy off YouTube might show a bit more professionalism and a bit more preparedness for the occasion than Jose did. His excuse is that he didn't get the proper 15-minute sit-down interview that he wanted. But really, so what? You didn't get 15 minutes. You got 5 minutes on the carpet, so you make the most of it. You had questions on hand. You could have asked some of the questions. You could have done some research on a couple of points. And from the likes of that interview, I could pretty much tell that you did fuck all in regards to research. For example, you brought up Jenna James's opening up the 2002 Spike TV Awards. The first one, mind you. Well, you fucked that up. You didn't know what was going on with that? You didn't know that Jenna Jameson's appearance was part of the release of Grand Theft Auto Vice City? You didn't know that? And if you'd done a little research, you'd know that the first Spike Video Game Awards show was in 2003. Not 2002. Spike wasn't even called Spike in 2002. It was the National Network, or TNN. And before that, it was the Nashville Network before they got the WWE, then WWF license to show TV on their network. But I digress. But still, just because the fans send you questions doesn't exclude you from doing some research so you at least sound like you know what you're talking about. I'm sorry, it's like if I'm just rambling here, but I can't get over how bad this fucking interview is, and this isn't normally something I obsess over. And this is only 5 minutes. I could hardly imagine the train wreck this would have been if he had gotten the full 15 minutes. Actually, you know what? A train wreck would probably been more entertaining to watch, just for the perverse masochistic value of it. This interview was painful. It was really painful. It hurts. And I rarely say that about a video. It hurts. Badly. I mean, and this doesn't take into account his blatant hijacking, for lack of a better term, of the press conference, bombarding Jeff with question after question and never letting up, never letting the actual journalists, the ones who are professionals and thus are good at their fucking jobs, do, ask the other questions that might be relevant besides, why is there no fighting game category? Why is there no MMO category? I don't know. What does it matter? I guess I know the fighting game could be legitimate, but the MMO, if there was anything remotely good about what are you going to put? Another World of Warcraft? Final Fantasy 14 came out this year. Even though I like that little spat that you had between him and Jeff. Final Fantasy MMO? Not this year. Exactly, this year. And then you come in and you say, well, it did come out this year. But you said in the video, it didn't come out this year. Which one is it, Joe? And besides, from what I don't know on first-hand experience because I've never played it, from what I understand, Final Fantasy 14 Online was pretty mediocre. So that gets the nomination by default. What are notable? I guess Star Trek Online, was that 2010? Was that the year before? I don't know. I don't care. It's the VGAs, man. So I don't know why people have issues with the VGAs. It's award shows to pander to the celebrities. That's why all the awards are going to the celebrities and not to the less notable voice actors that might have done a better job in some of these games. I mean, look, people are talking about boycotting the VGAs. You know what? I don't know what the big deal is. The first VGAs I saw was the first one in 2003. The last VGA I saw was the one in 2003. Never looked back ever since. And the only reason I tuned into that show was that because there was a wrestling match on it. Featuring Chris Jericho, I believe. I don't even remember. I have to go on Wikipedia to check. But you know what? That's called research, at least. It slipped my mind what the match was, but at least I did some research and knew that the show started in 2003. It's not a whole lot of research, but it's a lot more than fucking Joe did. Fucker couldn't even bother to check when Jeff Keighley's got the job. Because clearly he indicated he didn't get the job when the thing started. I mean, the guy doesn't know how the games are picked out. That was by sponsors. No, we have journalists and blah, 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 blah. The details are on the website, though. The details are on the website. If you look hard enough. Research, Joe, research goes a long way. Even if it's just a bit of it, just to give you a sliver sense that you know what the fuck you're talking about. Just because fans send you questions, like I said, doesn't exclude you from researching the material that they're asking. You have concerns with the VGA's concerns. I have concerns with the interview you just conducted. How you came off as totally aloof and unprepared, and then you blame it on Jeff because you say he's fucking you over, but to me, you fucked yourself over, man. You came off as amateurish, and so you got treated like an amateur. I'm sorry, but if you are not prepared for the interview that you're going to do, how do you expect the other guy to take you seriously? Especially when the guy's got a lot of other shit on his plate. Especially when the guy knows that you're there to bash his show. You're there to bash his baby. You think he's going to take you seriously? Especially when you're not prepared? No, people like to cast Jeff Keighley as the villain here because he disrespected Angry Joe. Joe didn't do anything to help his cause either. I'm sorry. The interview was just horrible. Just bad. Even if you're a fan of this guy, you have to admit that much. The interview went badly, and blame is to be had on both sides. But mostly on Joe, because Joe's conducting the interview. They might have invited him over, but Joe's the one conducting the interview, not the other way around. He should have been more prepared. He wasn't. As a result, Jeff Keighley didn't take him seriously, and the whole interview just turned out pretty fucking bad. Just horrible. Embarrassing is what I'd call it. An embarrassment. And for Joe to go crying about it afterwards is just pathetic. If this chump is supposed to be a representative of the gaming community, then speaking as a member of that community, this community has no hope whatsoever because this guy is doing a piss poor job of representing us. No, I'll go a step higher than that. He's doing a fucking horrible job of it. As a matter of fact, I venture to say that Joe did a better job at destroying the image and credibility of the gaming community in that one interview than 8 years worth of poorly contrived award shows ever did. You want a good gaming representative speaking on your behalf? You look in the mirror and you just found him. Don't look to the internet for that hero, especially when his name is Angry Joe and his main beef is with an award show that no one with a sliver of common sense and competency should be caring about. I'm so glad I got that off my chest. Happy New Year, everyone. Fuck.